Hello and welcome to our webinar today, Top Tips on Boosting Easter Giving and Engagement with Vanco and Church Windows. My name is Katie and I'll be the host of today's webinar. Thanks so much for taking time out of your day to join us. We appreciate it. Now let's go on to a few housekeeping items before we get started. First, everyone is in listen-only mode. With the number of attendees we have joining us today, we want to eliminate as much background noise as possible. However, this doesn't mean we don't want your participation. We highly encourage you to submit any questions you have throughout the duration of today's webinar, and we'll be sure to answer those for you. We are also recording today's webinar, so if you want to rewatch it or pass it along to a colleague, we welcome you to do so. We are also recording today's webinar, so if you want to rewatch it or pass it along to your colleagues, we encourage you to do so as well. We're now going to move on to our agenda here, and I am going to share my screen so you can follow along on our agenda. So give me one moment here, and I will get it pulled up here. So I'm going to change presenter to myself. I'm going to share my screen, and we'll jump right in. So on to our agenda. I've introduced myself. Again, my name is Katie, and I'll be the host of today's webinar. I'll be sharing today's webinar with my teammate, Abby Thompson. We'll then move into our main presentation, and then we'll move into our Church Windows integration. I'm very excited to have Rachel with us. She is from Church Windows, and she'll be walking us through the seamless integration we offer together. We'll then take time to discuss next steps, and then we'll move into Q&A. So let's take a look at our first poll question here. What is a role within the church that you represent? And I'm going to launch it out for you to choose from. We'll give you another 30 seconds or so to complete this poll question. All right, I'll close it out. I'm going to share the results. All right, we have 55% at church administration, 36% at Treasurer Finance Committee member, and 9% at other. One more poll question here. What streaming tools do you use today? You can choose all that apply, whether that be YouTube, Facebook Live, Vimeo, Zoom, or we don't offer streaming today. And your poll question response here will really allow Abby and I to shape the content of today's presentation. So we appreciate your answers. I'll share these out as well. I'll close out the poll. We'll share. So 91% at Facebook Live, 45% at YouTube, and 36% at Zoom. Very good. So thank you for that input. We will be sharing with you more of how you can use our latest streaming and giving solution and connect it either with your YouTube or your Facebook Live so you can reach even more of your members with your virtual services. So that's one aspect that we will be discussing today. So thank you again for participating in those poll questions. We are really excited to have all of you with us today because we really want to take the next 5 to 10 minutes to discuss how Vanco and church windows can be a resource for you during this Lenten season and as you move into Easter in April. I'm going to see if my colleague Abby is ready to come online and she can take it from here. Abby, are you available?
Hey, Katie, thank you so much for kicking us off and walking through those great poll questions of this morning. I am going to close down this last poll and let's see if I can grab our screen capture here and we will talk a little bit about why we're gathered here today. So, thank you once again for joining us to talk a little bit about your tips for getting ready for Easter. As Katie mentioned, my name is Abby and I'm on the marketing team here at Vanco, and I'm so excited to chat with you a little bit about a few tips and tricks we have on the best ways to prepare your church and your members for expressing generosity and engagement during this Lenten and Easter season. So we're going to be talking through a couple key steps today, and then we're going to pivot over and I'm going to show you a few tools we have here at Vanco that also work with your church windows, church management software to, again, help you with those two goals of expressing generosity and increasing engagement. So let's get started. Our first step here, our first tip that we have as you are thinking about Easter Sunday, the Lenten season that leads into it, and the Easter season afterwards, is to plan ahead. So when I think about planning ahead, there are a couple of key criteria that filter into that for me. I'm thinking about pulling up a calendar and adding all of my key events and dates to it. Those could be special collections, they could be services, events that we're hosting that are formal or informal. They could be smaller group opportunities like Bible studies, women's groups, men's groups, family groups, any of those items that are happening within the church this season. I'm going to get all of those on the calendar in one place to see. Once I have that view of my calendar, I'm going to start to build my communication plan. And within this communication plan, I'm going to talk about what do I want to highlight and what are the channels that I'm going to use in order to highlight these messages. I'm going to think about email, bulletin inserts, announcements, things that are going up on the website. Again, what are all those different things I can utilize in order to share my message out with my members? After I've done that, I'm also going to take a minute to set some goals for the church. And when I think about setting goals, these can come in a variety of different ways. It could be, say, for example, a goal that maybe I want to increase donations this year. I want to have a certain fund that raises X amount to help with a specific cause. Or it could be that I want to drive a certain amount of attendance or engagement in a specific event. Maybe we want to see X number of new visitors per service. Or if we're hosting our services online, we want to have X number of chats that are coming in order to track engagement among our viewers. Whatever your goals may be, take a minute to set them, write them down, and communicate them out with your team. The more people who know your goal and are on board with it, the more successful you and your church will be. And then lastly, we have don't just say it once. Use many different methods of communication like we talked about earlier, email, social, bulletin inserts, your website, to communicate out that message and make sure you're reaching your members as well as your visitors. So as you're also thinking about all of these different events and special offerings that you're doing, it's a great time to revisit your online giving page and make sure that it fully represents all of the great things that you and your church are doing during this joyous season. So think about special collections that you're doing, spring events, Easter egg hunts, fish fries. I know those have already started in some communities, Easter lilies in honor of others, and then those in-person and virtual services. How are you giving your members the opportunity to donate to all of the causes and great things that your church is hosting throughout this season? So now we've done step one, which is planning. We've taken everything, we've written it down, we've got our calendar, we've looked at all our different communication methods. Now is the time to spread the word. So when you're thinking about spreading the word, what are some of those important things that we want to get across? Well, first off, let's talk about how your church is planning to host Easter services. Are they going to be online, in person, a combination of both, inside, outside? How many services are you doing? What times are those going to be at? Also, talk about if you're doing a special collection, what is the goal behind that special collection? How are you planning to use those donations to help further an impact within your community? Next, make sure you're talking about your plans. I know we are already in the Lenten season. Easter is quickly approaching on April 17th, but take an opportunity to talk about what's coming up within the church. Again, using those multiple methods of communication in order to share that out with your members. And additionally, this sharing can come in the form of a success story, maybe a testimonial from somebody in your community that you've had an opportunity to help and impact. And always make sure it ends with a call to action, whether that is supporting the church with their time, their talent, their treasure, or for those who may not be in a position to give, asking them to share out the causes that you're doing so that way their network has an opportunity to give to the causes that they too are passionate about. And this is a busy season. We've talked about that quite a bit. You guys are all very focused on the number of events and services that you're hosting. So it can sometimes feel overwhelming to try to add one more thing to your plate. Now I have to communicate, Abby, about all these great things we're doing. I don't have time to write emails or make posters, but we've taken that hard work out of it for you. And we've created our Easter kit. Katie's going to be dropping a link in the chat to our Easter kit. This is free for all of you to download. In it, it has Easter email messages, letter templates, posters, some I Give electronically cards, bulletin inserts, tips on how to increase giving this Easter as well as launch your own giving campaign. Again, all those materials that your church needs in order to be successful this Easter. So make sure you check that out either during our presentation or after the fact. So as we approach step 3, we have planned out what we're going to communicate about. We've talked about how we're going to share the word. And now we get into one of my favorite parts, which is making giving easy. You have shared with your members all these great causes that you and the church are supporting, and you've asked for help. Well, now I want to make sure that they can help in a way that matches the way they want to give. And one of the key ways to do that is by thinking about, on Easter, you most likely will have a lot of new visitors attending for the first time, or members who may not be as established in your church. So as you're looking at some of these newer members or these first-time attendees, how can you allow them to express their generosity if they're moved to do so? Well, we know based on current trends that the use of paper check has dropped 50% in the last year. The average person doesn't carry a whole lot of cash on them. And that brings us to online giving. So online giving allows you to meet your members where they are and allows them to give with the payment methods that they have on hand with them today. So as you are thinking about how you're either setting up online giving or presenting that to those who are attending your service today, I really encourage you to think about throughout that conversation, how are you taking a minute to express gratitude and thanks for that support, be it both during, before, and after the offertory moment. So let's talk a little bit about how you can encourage that expression of generosity. Well, I know we've got a variety of individuals on our call today. Some of you are current Vanco clients. Some of you are current Church Windows clients, but not yet a partner with Vanco. So I want to take a minute and step back and talk about how we have partnered with churches to help you tell your story and express generosity with Vanco Faith. Now, as I move through this next quick presentation, a couple of things to keep in mind. One, I may show you a giving page that does not look like your church's giving page today. And that's okay. We're going to talk about how your church can upgrade to our new Vanco Faith Giving Suite and keep your current plan that you're on. The second thing I'm going to mention is I am going to move through this fairly quickly just because I want to make sure we have some time for Rachel to show us how easy it is to integrate and get to your questions at the end of our presentation today. So that being said, if there is something that I touch on during our presentation today that you'd like to learn more about, feel free to drop that in the question box, and we'll make sure we circle back around to that question at the end of our presentation today. So with that, I'm going to take just a minute here, and we are going to jump over to Vanco Valley, which is our demo teaching church. So I highly encourage you, after this presentation today, if you'd like to explore a little more, you can go and visit Vanco Valley Community Church, which is available on the web for everyone to take a look at. It is our example of a teaching church. So if you are looking to build a website for the first time, redesign your current website, it has a plethora of templates and information to think about as you're crafting those sections. But for our purposes today, we're going to be focused on two key areas, this Watch Live Services button and our Give Now button. So let's start with thinking about our Watch Live Services button. So we know, as I mentioned, Easter is one of the top attended services in the church calendar year. So you may have a variety of individuals joining you for your services that day. Some of them may be in person. Others may feel more comfortable, especially that first time, joining in a virtual setting. So if you do have members who are planning to join you virtually, we highly encourage you to think about a tool like Vanco Live. Within Vanco Live, you have the opportunity to really capture that community and talk to them about how you have an opportunity to drive engagement, facilitate conversation, and really make them feel like they're joining service within the church building with you, as opposed to watching that on a screen. So as we look at Vanco Live here, you can see I have my own personalized giving page. My video or live stream is nice and front and center for the church. I have some great details down here about the service that we're doing today, some different ways that I can get engaged within the church, and who I can call if I have additional questions. Additionally, I have an opportunity to engage with my participants and have them engage with me during my service. So in real time, I can add a welcome to Vanco Valley Community Church message. We are so blessed to have you joining us today. So I can drop a message in. I can add some fun emojis. And I can send this off. Now, anybody who is joining our service today can see my message. They can like it. And then as an administrator, I can choose to reply, pin, delete, or remove this individual from the conversation if they are distracting or not saying positive things. We want a part of that conversation from there. So as we continue to move down this little toolbar on the side, I want to draw your attention to our giving icon. So one of the most common challenges we hear from churches when they're thinking about their online worship is, not only do I struggle with driving engagement, but I also struggle to make the offertory moment feel like it's a part of service. And that's one of the things that Vanco Live really brings front and center, is the opportunity for you to pass a virtual plate to your viewers and allow them to give, whether it's to Sunday offering or a different fund, all without having to leave your broadcast. So they're able to continue to participate in that service without having to leave a window, get distracted, and hope that you make their way back, or hope that they make their way to a giving page, really making that full experience feel inclusive. So many of you may be thinking that this giving page here doesn't look like your current giving experience. And you'd be correct. In addition to just the Vanco online page, the Vanco Live page, you'll notice that our online giving pages have undergone a transformation. And in this transformation, we've moved from making giving feel transactional to making it feel transformational. And the way that we did that is by helping to make your mission front and center. So as you can see on our new Vanco online giving pages, you're able to use your own pictures and words to really bring your missions to life. And we've paired that with a very simple donation process, where if I click the Make a Donation button, you can learn more about that cause, enter in my amount, my frequency, a start date, if it makes sense, a memo line, and I can add that to my basket for a simple checkout process. Additionally, you'll notice that now I have the opportunity as well to share out the causes that I'm passionate with my community. So by selecting Share Site, you can see I'm going to be taken to an opportunity where I can choose to share this with my social networks via email and really let individuals know what my church is doing and how they can help or contribute to those causes. So many of you may be thinking, Abby, this looks great. I love how Vanco has made giving opportunities front and center. It looks clean and easy for my members to engage with. But what does this look like for me as an administrator or somebody who owns a Vanco account? How would I set something like this up? Well, that's a great question. And we highly encourage you to always get in touch with our client services team if you need help with getting anything set up. But we've done our best to make the new Vanco Faith Suite really easy for you to put together on your own. And the way you're going to do that is through our new My Vanco backend. And in here, you're going to build what we call tiles for each giving opportunity that you have. Now, a tile you can see can cross channels. We can have it on both our online as well as our mobile. And it's easy for me to decide if I want to toggle these tiles or giving opportunities on and make them visible or off and hide them. So for example, maybe I have my Easter giving tile. I've turned that on for the year as well as my fish fries. But after those events are closed, I can toggle those off and save that giving opportunity until next year when it's applicable again. If we click in to edit one of these tiles or giving opportunities, you can see it's a simple 5-step process that we're going to go through. We're going to give the great details of the story and what we're hoping to accomplish through that fund. We're going to pick our image, determine our reporting, where that money is going, the frequencies, and then we are going to preview that tile and post. So you as an administrator or anyone that you allow into the Vanco account has that ability to easily set up and create a tile within minutes. Additionally, you'll notice that your online page, your mobile app, and your Vanco live streaming page are all in the same area. So again, creating those giving opportunities and spreading them across channels is something that's going to be very simple and straightforward for you and your church. So as I mentioned earlier, we covered a lot of things and we covered it very quickly. So in the last few minutes there, we've really showed you how with the new Vanco Faith you can tell your story and inspire generosity. We're going to touch a little bit on the end if you're a current Vanco client, how you can activate the new Vanco Faith Suite. But one thing that hasn't changed and that I'm really excited to pass the mic to Rachel to talk about is our integration. So regardless of what tools you're utilizing with Vanco, we take all those gifts, we combine them together, and we make it easy for you to share those gifts with your church management software, Church Windows, and do that reconciliation of donations. So I have the great pleasure of turning things over to Rachel Klein. She is a support technician and software trainer at Church Windows. And like I said, Rachel's going to show us just how simple this process is. So with that, Rachel, let me make you a presenter, and I'll let you take it away.
Again, what we're going to do, however people choose to give throughout Vanco, getting that giving then imported into Church Windows is really easy. It's just a couple clicks, picking the time frame you want that giving to be imported in. Okay? So you'll go into donations, and up at the top, you'll have the option here for import donations. You're going to go down to Vanco, and then you're going to click right here on import via download. After you select that screen, the first thing you'll have to specify is going to be the date range that you want to import giving for. Okay, so you can do it on a monthly basis. You can do it on a weekly basis. It's really up to you and what you're comfortable with. A lot of people I talk to like to do it on a weekly basis, but again, it'll just be whatever process or time frame works best for you and your church. One thing I do want to point out before we actually start the import is on our newer versions of Church Windows, you are going to have the ability to specify batch codes. So this is going to allow you to mark which gifts are from a credit card and then which ones are EFT. So up here at the top, I'm going to go into batch codes. And as you can see, I already have a batch code here set up for EFT. And the description is just EFT donations. And here, I'm going to go into code, and I'm going to go to credit card. And then under description, I'm going to type in credit card donations. Whoops, here we go. And I'm going to add that as well. So now I have these two batch codes set up, and I can have these preset when I do an import that it's already going to group them by the batch code. So I'm going to say OK. And then up here at the top, I need to go into Special Functions and Settings. And then from here all the way down at the bottom, I have the option to use batch codes for credit card and EFT payment methods. So I'm going to say yes. And then for credit card batch code, I'm going to choose credit card donation. And then for my EFT batches, I'm going to choose my EFT donation batch code. And then once you have this set up, like I said, when you do your imports, it's going to group them by those corresponding batch codes, which is really helpful when you go to handle and account for your fees. Okay, so I'm going to say save here. And let's go back up to import. We're going to go Vanco and then import via download. I'm going to specify my date range. I'm just going to do the month of March so far. Once you get your date range in, you're going to hit Begin Download, and then you'll need to verify your date range. And then you're going to have to put in these different pieces of credentials here, your client ID, your login name, and your password. This information you have to get from Vanco. Here at Church Windows, we don't know what this information is, but once you have these credentials, it allows Church Windows to then connect up to Vanco servers and find your specific giving information to then pull into donations. I'm going to type in my login name, put in my password, and you can check this box to save the login name here, but your password you are going to have to type in each time. So it's going to begin that connection up to Vanco, and then it's going to pull down any giving that falls within that date range. Okay? So now it took us to this unmatched items from import. So whenever people give through Vanco, Vanco is going to assign an ID to those people. So that's this number here. But you in Church Windows have to match this ID to the corresponding giver from the software. So whenever this Vanco ID makes a donation, Church Windows knows who that person is and who to credit for that gift. So we're going to pick the corresponding person. And then down at the bottom, you're going to say Save. And this way, the software is always going to know that this ID belongs to Carolyn. Okay? So it's Save Giver Matches. And then same thing over here on the right under Accounts. You have this Vanco download ID of 0002. And this is actually a giving account. So this is going to be those tiles that people are going to give to the different funds they want their money to go to. And then you just have to match that to the corresponding account in Church Windows. So this is for building funds. So I'll hit Save. And now that all my matches are made, I can jump back here to imported donations. All right. Now you can see why that batch code was so important to have that set up. So I have some donations here on the 8th that were credit card donations. And then also on the 8th, I had some EFT donations come in. All right. So this is a great way to help you handle those fees by grouping them by credit card or EFT. So everything looks good. I'm going to come up here and hit Create Donations. And it's going to then take me to this Imported Batches screen. So it's going to show me my 2 batches that I have, both on the 8th, organized by their batch code, their total amounts as well. And then in our newer versions of Church Windows, you now have the option to do a post all batches. Before, you'd have to go through and click each batch. So now you just have the one button here. You can also print. If you want to print this report out before you post it, you can do that here by choosing Print Selected. I'm going to go ahead and just post. And it'll say, are you sure you want to post all batches? I'll say yes. And now that my screen's empty, both batches are posted. Now you also have the option to go and print these out if you want. So just like any batch you would have entered, you can come up here and go into posted batches. Oh, where's my screen? Let me see over here. Here it is. So here in posted batches, you can see for the 8th, here's my $100, and then also for EFT donations on the 8th, here's $175. And if you want to print those, down at the bottom, you can hit Print Selected, and that will give you that posted batch report. And then the last option, if you use our accounting module, up here at the top, go to Transfer to Accounting. And here are the 2 batches that we just entered. And your Post button is over here off to the right to send those over to accounting like you would with any of your other batches. Now, if you do utilize the accounting module and you want to do the transfers, we have a lot of really good information out on our website at churchwindows.com. That's going to allow you to really see how we recommend handling those fees, because you are going to have fees associated with online giving, and then it's going to give you some different recommendations on the process and the procedures that we recommend you follow to really be beneficial with getting that bank rec balance and accounting for those fees properly. But that is it. That is how easy the process is to transfer that giving from Vanco into donations and also over into the accounting module if you wish.
Excellent. Thanks so much for that great presentation there, Rachel. And as I mentioned earlier, if you have questions for Rachel, don't hesitate to drop those in the question box below, and we'll have an opportunity here at the end of our presentation for a little bit of question and answer session. But in the meantime, if you are eager to get started with that church management software integration, the easiest way to do that is by getting in touch with us. So there's a few different options. You can use the link that's either in chat or it'll be in your follow-up email after our presentation today. Additionally, you can email us at cs@vancopayments.com or give us a call 800-675-7430 option 1. And we can make sure we get that form over to you. Like Rachel mentioned, this is the key to getting your integration credentials, which then again sets you up to be able to have Church Windows talk to Vanco and make that gift transfer easy. So before we close, a couple different next steps that I'm going to recommend here, and then we'll do a final poll question. If you are interested in learning more about what you saw today in terms of how we can help you increase generosity and drive engagement, I encourage you to request your personalized demonstration or e-giving page consultation. In this, we'll take a look at what you're doing today, and we'll provide some recommendations of how we think Vanco can help you with putting your mission and your story front and forward. From there, we're going to help you select and set up the right tools for your church and make it as easy as increasing donations from there. So let's take a quick pause here. We're going to do our final poll question, which reads, what best describes your next steps after this webinar? We have, I'm ready to get started with Vanco Faith. I have questions I need answered by an e-giving consultant. I would like another demo for our church leadership team, or I'm ready to get started with integration. So we'll give everyone about 60 seconds to get their final poll question answers selected, and then we'll move into that question answer session. So again, if you have not yet submitted a question, now is the time to do so. And we'll be transitioning into those here momentarily.